It's no exaggeration to say that Seiko have been innovators when it comes to watch technology. They created the world's first quartz watch with the Astron in 1969 and the world's first LCD digital watch with the 06LC in 1973. In recent years though, Seiko seems to have abandoned their digital watch heritage in favour of higher margin mechanical models. Even their 5 range, which was once considered to be affordable, has increased in price. With some models, alignment issues seem to be a part of the course, and even higher-end watches do not escape quality control problems. This leaves a gap in Seiko's lineup for a lower to middle price range of watches. I propose that they fill this gap by reintroducing digital watches and make Seiko great again. To inspire them to do so, let's take a look at 10 digital watches from Seiko's back catalogue to see why they still hold a place in collectors' hearts. 10 is the 06LC. Launched in 1973 for the domestic market, this was the world's first watch with a 6-digit liquid crystal display. During the early years of digital watches, they were built using LEDs for the display. These were power hungry, and in order to conserve power, you had to press a button to turn on the display to tell the time. In order to rectify this, engineers at Epson, now owned by Seiko, developed an always-on display using liquid crystal sandwiched between 2 transparent layers. The display was light-absorbing rather than light-emitting, which meant that it was much more energy efficient and had a long lifespan. The material used for the case was titanium and the band was steel, and its accuracy is impressive even by today's standards at ±10 seconds a month. Due to the rarity of the watch and the fact that it was only originally released in the domestic market, used examples can be hard to find. If you do find one though, be prepared to pay several $1,000s for a good example. At 9 is the H-239-5020. This was released in 1981 and is better known by its nickname of Robot Face, due to the pareidolia effect of the dial which Seiko used in its advertising. The most unique feature for this watch is the front-facing speaker grille for the alarm, which actually protrudes through a cutout on the crystal. As it's an analog digital watch, it can display dual time and also includes a stopwatch. Currently, robot face watches are selling for reasonably low prices, and you should be able to pick up a good example for under $200. 8. The 0674-5009, best known for its appearance in the movie The Spy Who Loved Me as James Bond's watch of choice. This was released in 1977 and featured a calendar that was programmed from 1976 until the year 2009. Don't worry though, as calendar dates do repeat, and if you want to set it to 2023, then set the date to 1989 and the calendar should work again. Looking back at these old Seikos, I'm surprised at their accuracy ratings, as this watch is rated as ±10 seconds a month on average, which is in the upper percentile of even modern digital watches. The watch was modified in the film to have a ticker tape messaging function as a gadget, which the real one doesn't, but it does include a backlight for use in the dark. Size-wise, it is small and thin with a steel case width of 27mm and a thickness of 8.5mm. If you want to get yourself one of these, don't get carried away and end up paying too much, because you should be able to get a good clean example for around $300. 7. The M5164-009, better known as the Seiko Voice Note. It was released in 1983 costing $195, which in today's terms would be about $600, which is what it would cost you to buy now on the pre-owned market. The unique feature for this watch is that you can record your own voice for use as a memo or reminder, or you could even set it for use as an alarm. The M516 module that the watch uses had 16 kilobytes of RAM built in for recording 2 audio clips, one lasting up to 4 seconds and one lasting up to 8 seconds. 16 kilobytes of memory doesn't sound like a lot, but still it was more than I had in my computer at the time, the Commodore VIC-20. Due to its unique looks and features, it featured on the wrists of the actors in the Ghostbusters movie. And very unique for a watch at the time, the case was made of carbon fibre and featured a steel plate over the bottom half, and the band was also made of steel. Other features for the watch includes a 100th of a second stopwatch, calendar and backlight. 6. The M354-5019 from 1978, also known as the Memory Bank Calendar. The watch allows you to set a memo for a particular day during a month, and the memo is shown by the day blinking in the calendar view. It comes with two displays, the first the normal timekeeping mode which shows the time and date, and the second the calendar view which shows the full month and the days for which you have the memo set. The program dates in the calendar only go as far as 2009 but does go back to 1930. I'm not sure why that is, but perhaps it goes back that far to allow you to remind you of your grandparents' birthdays. To achieve the two displays, Seiko added a dual layer LCD which was state of the art at the time. Bond wore the watch in Moonraker, but of course it wouldn't be a James Bond watch without it having been modified with an extra feature, which in this case was an explosive device. The Memory Bank Calendar watch is built with a brushed and polished stainless steel case measuring 34.5mm, and the band is also made of steel. Other feature for the watch is the LCD backlight. 5. The A159-4019 from 1977. I've included this watch because it was the first watch to be released with an alarm and chronograph, features that are present in modern day digital watches such as the Casio F91W and the Casio A158, so I would consider this watch to be the spiritual ancestor of modern day digital watches. I quite like the design of it, having a grey border around the LCD with some coloured printed text and a speaker grille at the top to emit the alarm sound. These watches sold quite well and so are not hard to track down and often come up in flea markets and yard sales. A guide price for a used example should be well under $100. 4. The G757-5020, better known as the 757 Sports 100. The G757 was a range of digital watches, but it was only the 5020 model that was used in the James Bond movie Octopussy. Most watch enthusiasts will be familiar with this watch, not just because it was a James Bond watch, but also because of another watch, the Casio AE1200, which bears such a striking resemblance to the G757 that it's been dubbed the Casio Royale. The G757 Sports 100 was only in production in the early 1980s for a short period and therefore quite rare that they command high prices on the resale market, so it's therefore much easier and cheaper for enthusiasts to buy the Casio alternative. If there was a case for Seiko to make digital watches again, it would be for this model, so that fans and enthusiasts can have a chance of owning the real thing. The G757 Sports 100 is water resistant to 100 meters and functions include a countdown timer, alarm, stopwatch, dual time and a backlight. The case and bracelet are made of stainless steel and the horseshoe shaped bezel surrounding the dial is made of polyurethane. 3. The SCWA001, better known as the H-Timetron. H-Timetron was a range of watches which Seiko designed specifically with a bid to attract new younger buyers into the brand. It was produced from 1999 until the early 2000s and came in various colours. The case was designed to resemble an old CRT monitor, and the display came with rounded corners for that vintage look. A new W853-4000 module was developed for the watch, which featured a green dot matrix display in order to resemble PCs from the 1970s. You could also adjust the size of the fonts used on the animated display by pressing one of the buttons. Functions for this watch includes a stopwatch, countdown timer, alarm, world time, EL backlight, and is water resistant to 100 meters. The material used for the case is acrylic and the band is made of polyurethane. Good examples of this watch are hard to come by as the non-standard straps become brittle over time and are very hard to find replacements for. Because of this, intact examples of this watch command a premium. It's been over 20 years since this watch was on the market and Seiko should definitely re-release this watch to attract a new audience and for existing buyers. 2. The SBPG001, released in 2012. This watch is a part of a range of watches called Seiko Spirit, which featured solar power and atomic timekeeping. I love the timeless design of this watch as it has all the features that you need that's built into a steel case with beautifully finished, brushed and polished surfaces. The accompanying trifold clasp is also made of steel. The display is large and clear and surrounded by a solar panel and covered by a hard-lex crystal. There was also a black iron-plated version, the SBPG003, if you wanted a more stealthy looking watch. Features for this watch includes atomic timekeeping from radio transmitters, solar power, world time, alarm, stopwatch and an EL backlight. The 41mm diameter case is also water resistant to 100 meters. Number 1 is the SDGA001 known as the Seiko Brights from 2010. I like the case design of this watch and it looks like the designers took inspiration from the 06LC which I showed you at the beginning of the video. The case and band are stainless steel and the sapphire crystal comes with an AR coating. The unique feature for this watch is the display, which is an electrophoretic display or EPD. The benefits of EPD displays is that it allows for wider viewing angles up to 180 degrees, much wider than field effect LCD. It allows for greater contrast and with a pixel density of 300 dpi you can also display graphics. Seiko took advantage of this feature by releasing a special edition Star Wars edition of this watch, which shows static pictures from scenes from the original trilogy. The disadvantage of EPD displays is that they are slow to refresh, so you don't get a stopwatch or countdown timer with this watch, but it is excellent for use just as an ordinary watch screen. Features for this watch includes atomic timekeeping, solar power, world time, backlight and alarm. The case is also water resistant to 100 meters. So that was my plea to Seiko to return to making digital watches again. A digital watch line can happily coexist with your mechanical line. You have over 50 years of heritage in digital watches which would be a shame to abandon. You have many examples to look back to in terms of both technology and design. So please Seiko, make digital watches again, come up with daring and innovative designs. Look to the past, look to the future. Make quality products and customers will return. Make Seiko great again.